Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a great day so far. My name is JurassicKM. Welcome to today's video. I hope everyone had a great and safe New Year celebration, whatever it is you wound up doing, and I wanted to get back into the swing of things on the channel. I had a pretty good time, touch-ups notwithstanding, with the Dino Rivals unreleased Allosaurus color scheme that we did at the end of last year. And I kind of wanted to stay within that theme to kick off the new year. So I found this figure at Value Village. And as you can see, this is clearly a bootleg of the Jurassic Park 3 React Attack Triceratops figure from Hasbro. Now, this does not have any sort of electronics or anything like that. It does have some articulation with the head being able to go up and down. The legs were a little too flimsy, so I wound up super gluing them into place just so that it would stay standing upright. So what I want to do is take this figure and give it a color scheme more akin to the original React Attack figure. It's not going to be an exact one-to-one replica, but it'll be enough to say, oh, hey, I recognize that color scheme. So with that being said, let's get started. Now, unsurprisingly, this bootleg figure does have a couple of screw holes on the back. So before we do any painting or priming, we are going to fill those in. And for that, we are just using Milliput. And then we are going to use some water and a toothpick just to etch out the patterns in the skin to make it look more seamless. After letting the Milliput sit and cure for a couple of days, I'm now just giving the figure a quick wash with some hot soapy water, just to get any dust, dirt, grime, oil, whatever off of it. Then I'm going to prime it with our Liquitex gesso, and then use the 2-to-1 tan base coat, 2 coats, to prepare the figure. So for the next layer of color, we are now doing a 2-to-1 of cinnamon brown. And you're going to want to apply this to everywhere except for the horns and the beak. Although if you get some on the horns and the beak, it's not the end of the world. We can always go back and correct it later. If the color does not look thick enough or strong enough, by all means do a second coat. I'm probably going to. Now that the second coat of cinnamon brown is dry, we are going to do a 1-to-3 of natural beige, and then we're going to tackle the underbelly. Once the natural beige is dried, we're just going to dry brush some antique white on top of it. The stripes on the original React Attack figure look more purple than brown, and while I don't want to do a stark purple striping pattern, I do still want to honor those colors. So what I've done is I've mixed a 2-to-1 ratio of Cafe Mocha and African Violet. I have then mixed that as a 1-to-1 paint to water ratio, and for the actual shape of the pattern, we're going to try and go for something similar to what the Triceratops had in the original Jurassic Park movie. I may have been a little too relaxed with the whole similar part of the last step, but I still like how it looks. Moving on, we are going to cover all the osteoderms and bumps that are on the frill, along the back, and on the legs of the Triceratops. So for this, I have some apple-barreled territorial beige, and we're just going to take some of that straight out of the cap, and we're going to apply it very carefully to these specific spots. The original Hasbro toy has what looks like a yellow eyeball with a black cat's eye pupil, but that to me looks more like the eye of a velociraptor rather than the eye of a Triceratops. So for this one, we are just going to use some raw umber straight out of the cap for the eyeballs, and then we are going to put in a little black dot, again, straight out of the cap for the pupil, and while we're here, we're going to put some black in the nostrils. While we're waiting for the eyes and nostrils to dry, we're going to take some white straight out of the cap, and we're going to paint those exposed ribs. Don't worry, they're not going to stay white. We're going to come back to these later. Next up, we are going to do a 1-to-1 mix of antique white, natural beige, and natural buff. We then use this color to paint the 3 horns on the Triceratops' face, all of the smaller horns on the edge of its frill, the outside of the beak, not the inside of the mouth, and all of the dinosaur's toe pads. For the inside of the mouth, we're just going to do blush pink straight out of the cap, and then for the tongue, we're going to do cherry blossom pink straight out of the cap. For the muscles beneath the ribs, I actually Googled what a muscle injury looks like to see what color is on the inside. Obviously, I can't show the image here, but we're going to do a 1-to-1 to 1-to-1 of deep red, cherry blossom pink, blush pink, and African violet. You want to mix that 2-to-1 with water, and then we are going to paint the muscles beneath the ribs. While the muscles are drying, we're going to take a 1-to-7 territorial beige wash, and we're going to put it over all of the horns and the beak and the toe pads that we did earlier. You know what? While we're at it, let's take the same wash and put it on the underbelly. The final thing we need to do with this open wound is take a 1-to-2 mix of deep red, and we're just going to haphazardly dab it onto the open wound. If some of the blood comes out around the open wound, that's totally fine. We will then take some clear coat, apply it to the entire dinosaur, and then we are going to put some clear nail polish on the horns, the beak, the inside of the mouth, the toe pads, and the open wounds, and the eyes and nostrils, and then call this one good. And thus concludes my repaint of this bootleg Hasbro Jurassic Park 3 React Attack Triceratops figure. I had a lot of fun doing this one, and I actually noticed a happy accident as I was filming the final reveal. When I applied the clear coat on the open wound, either I did not let it fully dry and cure, or maybe I just put on too much, but as I put on the clear nail polish, it gave it that kind of foamy look, very similar to what happened to the injured park worker at the beginning of the original Jurassic Park novel. So that's a nice little detail that I'm going to run with, and I'm going to remember that if I ever need to recreate that kind of pattern on a future repaint. For the next video, we will actually be taking a break from repaints, and I am going to be doing another ranked episode. This will be the one that I've mentioned on my socials a couple of times if you're following those. I will be ranking all of the episodes from 2010 to 2024 of Death Battle. After the Death Battle ranking video, we're going to be going right back into repaints with a new sub-series that I want to introduce on the channel. Folks, if you've made it this far into the video, I do want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch it. If you like what you see, be sure to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for any future notifications, share this video around, and if you're interested, you can support the Patreon, which will be linked down below. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, this is JurassicKM, signing off.